Hello, everybody, and welcome to Women of Dance. I'm your host, Sharonne Vinokurov, and I am so excited for today's episode. I know I say that every week. You guys are probably getting so tired of hearing me say that, but today's guest has been on my what I call dream list, right? Because yes, the show has been mostly salsa and bachata artists and a little bit of hustle, little bit of commercial, but this next guest has done it all. I mean, ballerina, Broadway dancer, you name it, she's done it and she's been exceptional at it. I love her and I'm so happy that she has agreed to be on the show. So without further ado, let me please welcome today's guest, the incredibly talented Kristine Bendul.
Hey, Sharon.
Hi.
Thank you for that intro. It's so good to see you. Look at you look so gorgeous. Oh my God. So good
Stop.
to
You
see you.
you look fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. I've missed you so much.
No.
I'm trying to think, was the last time I saw you Canada 2019?
Oh my gosh, yes, I think so.
Right before the pandemic.
Oh my
I think
God.
that's the last time we saw each other.
October of 2019. Wow.
Wow.
When you say it like that, that just it's mind-boggling to me. I can't even comprehend that.
I can't believe it's been so
But it
long.
but I love you so much it feels like yesterday, so.
I know. And you were so gracious when you're with your agreeing to do this. I messaged you and you were like, absolutely. No questions asked. I'm so grateful. So we're gonna have such a great time today. For all of you that are tuning in for the first time, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you have any questions for Kristine or myself, please put them in the comments. We'll try to get to them as best as possible. If you are watching on YouTube, you will need to give permission for your name and comments to be displayed. So make sure you do that. And also, if you like what you see, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get notified of all future episodes. All right, that's my marketing spiel. I'm done. Kristine, let's get to
Well done.
you. Thank you, thank you. Kristine, why don't you give us a bit of a background on yourself? Tell us all about baby Kristine and how your dance life began.
I mean, it's really a long story.
Go for it.
I
We
think
got
it's also
time.
like a cat with 9 lives. Basically, for the many of you that don't know me, I'm adopted, and I came to this country and joined the Bendel family when I was a little over a year. And so what happened was my legs were the muscles and veins and everything were underdeveloped because in an orphanage they just clean you and feed you and they don't try to parent you and teach you how to stand and try to encourage you to walk. So I was I remember my memory goes way far back. Like I remember getting my vaccination shot before I left Korea because it was so painful.
Oh my
But I
God.
remember being an infant, like 2 years old, toddler, I guess, and in excruciating pain, both legs, so painful. And just my parents rubbing my legs, one on each leg, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They took me to the doctor, and basically, doctor said what it was. And so the solution was, well, there's physical therapy, but she's only 2, so what can you really do with a 2-year-old in physical therapy? Or keep encouraging her, enrolling her in activities that force her to be on her legs. And so there was a little local dance studio that I grew up in a very small town, North New Jersey. My graduating class was like 72 students. I mean, it was
Wow.
a tiny town. So just have that vision. Like even today, I think there's only 2 traffic lights in the whole town.
Wow.
Yeah. And I grew up on Main Street. Everything was on Main Street, the high school, the public school, our house. I mean, tiny town. So anyway, local dance studio. It was more, it was very good with the tap, and it had jazz. But as far as like ballet, it was like hold the ball, what color's the ball? And then you just kind of Simon Says, whatever, follow the teacher. I didn't learn any ballet from that particular school, and it was just for me. It was a chance to grow up and be with my best friend Mary, who's also adopted. And it was very unusual international adoptions back then. So she and I were super, super close and we're always bookends. And basically what happened is when we were about 10 years old, Mary left because she wanted to actually become like a professional dancer. So her parents put her in a ballet school a few towns over. And because we went to different grade schools, we never saw each other. And
Aw.
so this is important to the story of how I got there. So anyway, just to even have a slumber party, being one of 6 kids, like it was very hard for all of us to arrange. And I feel like it had to have been at least a year because when I saw her the next time, arranging the play date. One of my brothers after school picked me up, brought me several towns over to her dance studio, and I had to sit and watch her classes and wait until her dad was done with work. Then he would come and get us, bring us to their house for the slumber party. And I'm sitting there watching Mary, and she's in her tights and leotard and hair up in a bun. She's on point. She's doing fouettes. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's she doing? I have to do that. I have to learn how to do that. And I was probably about 11 at this time. I have to learn how to do that. And we were even still, we were so close. We were always a little competitive.
Of course.
So I remember thinking like, I not only have to learn how to do that, but I have to do it better.
Of course.
How the universe comes and just like naturally magnetizes the right circumstances. It was our summer recital. One of my older brothers was dating a young woman who was dancing at Alvin Ailey, taking class at Alvin Ailey and other big schools in New York City. And so he invited her to our my dance recital. And so she actually told my parents after, she said, Kristine actually has natural ability. You should put her in a real dance school. And my parents didn't know that wasn't like, so I just remember one day my parents sitting me down and basically asked me if I wanted to dance or what I wanted to do, because at the time I was doing gymnastics, I was racing dirt bikes, I was playing piano, and I was
You were racing dirt. Go back.
my two older brothers, when I was first adopted, my family ended up expanding, but my two oldest brothers, who are biologically from my parents, I always followed in their footsteps. So I was like little tomboy. And
That's so fun. You're like ballet, racing dirt bikes, playing classical piano. Like, wait a minute.
So they sat me down and said, you have to pick one. And the reason I chose dance, because that vision of Mary in her point shoes was so powerful that
Wow.
I said, I want to dance. And so around
What is it about those damn point shoes? It just makes you want to be a ballerina.
But my parents didn't know anything about the industry. So Nisa helped guide them. And she basically said, well, School of American Ballet is about to have its annual auditions for their school, for the program. You should bring her in. They'll evaluate her and at least be able to give you some feedback and direction. So I remember my dad drove me into the city, and, first they scrutinize you and check you like a show pony. They're like all your ratio, your feet, your point, everything. And then they stand you against the bar and they check your flexibility. They lift your leg to the front, side, and back, both legs. And I was always flexible. But then came the ballet class, and I didn't even know anything. Like when they say, and demi plie, and demi, and I knew nothing. And so they told my dad I wasn't even good enough for the beginner level.
Oh.
And put me in, if I wanted to dance, put me in some dance, like real dance classes, and bring me back in a year or so. So my dad was devastated. Went home, told my mom. My mom was devastated. Nisa asked, and they told Nisa what happened. And Nisa said, wait a minute. They said to bring her back. And my dad said, yes. And she said, do you realize how many hundreds, if not thousands of children audition for that program every year? Like, why would they want somebody who knows nothing?
Yeah.
Knows nothing to come back?
Think about that. They saw something.
They saw something. So next thing I know, I was my first ballet class in Ridgewood, New Jersey. It was like a 45-minute drive from Emerson at that time of day. So my mom or dad would pick me up from school. I'd go to Irene Fokeen's. Now, Irene Fokeen is the niece of the famous Michael Fokeen, one of the founding fathers of classical ballet as we know it. So I got like major training from this.
You went from nothing to serious training.
Like, she was so scary. Irene was so scary, but she was so good. And she got me caught up to my level within a year and a half.
Wow.
And
she was really good.
I mean, my first class, I remember, like, it was so intimidating. All these girls there was a militant feel to it. They're all in the black leotards, pink tights, hair slicked back in the buns. And the energy was just so intense. And so there was, it was one big studio with two, when you enter, there's two baby grand pianos on either side. And then you go up onto the dance floor, and it was just one big space. Old wood floor, all chipped and splintered, which eventually they put Marley over. But I mean, it was like, it elicited some history, Anyway, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how to dance. So I kind of took the corner closest to like the piano, like closest to the exit. And when the teacher came in, everyone just like comes to attention, stops talking. And then she starts to demonstrate. the pliés. So I'm full on, full out doing exactly everything she's doing. Because in my other school, you followed along with the teacher. And I'm thinking, why are there no, she's not playing any records. There's no music.
Yeah.
Well, and nobody's dancing. I don't know why nobody's dancing. I didn't
She's
realize
just demonstrating the
I
combination.
didn't know that. So I'm following her the whole thing. I go to turn her on the other side, and then the piano comes in, and then everybody. It was almost like the sound effect in a movie where the army just goes, together at attention, and then everything is a blur. I don't remember anything else from that class except for when it got to Adagio, and the girls were able to développé and lift their leg without holding it. Because in my other school, you were lucky if you were allowed to stretch, meaning grab your foot, gotten given permission to grab
Uh-huh.
your foot and try to get your leg up. Like you had to get permission from the teacher. And here they're just développéing free. The leg is just floating up in the air. I'm like, how is that possible?
Mhm.
And it's so crazy because I don't remember. I have such a good memory, but I don't remember anything until I was on point and actually dancing. Like my brain, the blur of like trying to learn and train and memorize and eventually get up on point. So my first ballet class technically was at 12 years old because I didn't know anything. And all these girls were
Wow.
already on point and like, super like mega ballerinas. So, I mean, Irene definitely instructed me incredibly. And so my dad ended up bringing me back to audition at SAB at 14 and I got accepted. And
Love it.
so I ended up at School of American Ballet for the 87-88 school season. And, um, and the training, these incredible training kept continuing. And then the following year, my classes would have been during the day, during school. Now, this is where, unfortunately, the ballet community, the world is kind of elitist in a way
Mm.
where it's meant for people with money,
Mhm.
And so my parents didn't have the money to send me to PCS, which is professional children's school. They tried to figure out a way, could we get her a tutor? Could we get a chauffeur to drive her? Because my dad would pick me up every day, drive
Mhm.
to the city, sit in the car and wait because he didn't have money for parking and to actually wait in the building and sit in the car for hours and hours until I was done at 9 or 10 at night, bring me home.
Wow.
And so he's missing work. He's losing out on work which was unsustainable. And again, I was one of 6 children. So
Wow.
there was just no way to financially continue my education at School of American Ballet. So I had to go look for school in New Jersey and something that had that great
Love
of
it.
training, that
Yeah.
level, and so I did, like, an evaluation class at Garden State Ballet, which didn't really we didn't connect, and then, called New Jersey Ballet School. Now, like New York City Ballet, they have a school, you grow up in the school, you join the company. That's
Mhm.
kind of what they do, and so, we had to get permission for me to audition for the school, and I remember driving there. Now, I'm 15 at this point, yeah, 14, 15, I was SAB. That summer after SAB, I ended up doing the Boston Ballet summer program, and then I needed a school to go to that fall. So it was in this period
Mhm.
where I'm auditioning and I do my evaluation class. I remember it was a Saturday morning class. Little did I know that this was the company class. Like I just thought it
Mm.
was a regular ballet class. Now, what was also happening was the artistic director, Edward Villela, who you would know that name, very well known ballet dancer, but he was also known because he was in the original cast of West Side Story,
Mhm.
Broadway. Anyway, he was leaving to go to Miami City Ballet Company. And so our new artistic director was a principal with New York City Ballet. His name is Leonid Kozlov. So they were watching class because Leonid was about to take several dancers from New Jersey Ballet on tour to Taiwan with other dancers from New York City Ballet. So
Oh,
he's
wow.
watching the class to see who he wants to pick. And so I do the class and then, I'm taken my dad and I are taken to the back office, and we're told, "Okay, so, yes, not only can Christine join the school, we would like her to become an apprentice with the company, and does she have a passport?"
Oh my god.
I just said, "What?" And, well, Leonid would like to take Christine on tour to Taiwan with the Kozlov and Friends Ballet Tour. And so I ended up getting a passport, and I turned by this time, from that evaluation class, I turned 16, so I was 16, I think. Good for you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that's how I ended up joining the ballet company, touring with Lena the first time. And then the second time was 2 years later, and I went to was formerly the USSR. I went to Russia
Wow.
because he and his ex-wife Valentina Kozlova, they had defected in '74, had become stars of the American Ballet.
Hmm.
It was it's still, I believe, an ongoing tour with City Ballet, but I was in the very first one ever, which was
Wow.
1991.
That's
Um,
so amazing.
but, and I had my full ballet career. Little did I know, nobody told me that there's all these politics and games,
Hmm.
and my dad and I just had no idea, and so it ended tragically for me, really horrifically, so bad I actually wanted to quit dancing. I mean, it was devastating, but, my mom was so hurt for me, and I thought I'd just never even dance again. I was so hurt, and so she just kept trying to encourage me to, like, go audition for Broadway shows or do things, and right now I'm about 18, so I'm that age where I just wanna get away from home as far away as
Hmm.
possible, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table one day, the backstage paper that had well, it's no longer paper.
Now it's all online, but yes, I remember Backstage well
It
being a
was not
paper.
actual newspaper. So I'm sitting at, the kitchen table
We're not
one
old. No,
day.
not at all. Not at all.
Yes, we had newspapers.
We're not old.
And she puts down the backstage paper, and there's the whole page, "Audition for Tokyo Disneyland." And I'm thinking, she's like, "You look, you love Disney. You should go to this. You should go to this." And I was so I didn't wanna dance, but I knew I needed to get out of the house. And
Hmm.
so I agreed to go, and I thought, "Hey, I'm Asian and I love Disney and it's as far away as possible. I'm so booking this in my brain." But little did I know Tokyo Disneyland didn't want people that look like me. They wanted people that look like you.
Oh no.
But anyway, so I thought, I remember waking up that day and it was so laborious for me to even just put dance clothes on and drive into the city. And I'm thinking, okay, if I get a parking spot, I'll go into the audition. If I don't have a parking spot, I'm not going to go to the audition. I'm going to go hang out with my girlfriend Carrie. And so, so I get to 890 Broadway, and sure enough, there's literally a spot right around the corner from the.
Oh, that's called fate.
And I was like, all right. So I go, and this is back when auditions were all day long. They start with a ballet combination, and they whittle down like hundreds of dancers, and
Hmm.
then you do a jazz combination, then they whittle down, then you do the tap combination. And I had learned how to tap from my first dance school, so I could get through back
All
then
the
with
rounds. Yeah.
everything. And so I thought, oh, I'm so booking this. And then, like, toward the end of the day, the casting director at the time, Ronnie Rodriguez, he said, "Oh, I need to speak to three ladies, so and so, and Kristine Bendul. If you could come talk to me for a second." He basically released us. He said, "Thank you so much for coming in. We don't have anything for you in Tokyo, but please come back." How they always say that. And I
Hmm.
couldn't believe it. I was shocked. So I grabbed my bag. I start to walk away to grab my bag, and he says, Christine, do you have a moment? I want to talk to you." And so I go back, and he says, "We don't have anything for you in Tokyo, but what about Orlando? Would you like to go to Orlando?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Wait, wait, wait. I mean, you'd have to move there in 2 weeks." I said, "Yes."
You're like, okay.
And so in December of '91, I moved on my own to Orlando, Florida, and I went to Disney. I was a world dancer at Epcot Center, and that opened the doors for musical theater, land of more fun and more money than ballet. So
Ain't that the truth?
I loved it down there. I Our show closed though in '93, the World Dancer Show, and so but I stayed because I loved it down there. It was like living a perpetual vacation, and so I ended up at the dinner theater that is still around, believe it or not, and
Wow.
and then I ended up getting a cruise ship, and that actually was my introduction to the world of Adagio and theater arts, all the choreography.
Okay.
This is a funny story. So I had auditioned for a production company that was really big in setting up all the shows and casts on the cruise ships, and but I hadn't heard from them for over a year. So now I'm in the dinner theater, working there, and I get a phone call one day, and it's the people from the production company, and they say, "Oh, we are looking for an immediate replacement for an adagio dancer." And I said, "Oh, great, I'll take it." And they said, "Well, similar. You have to be there by the end of the week." Like, I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll do it." I was just always ready for an adventure.
Yep.
And they said, "But you do adagio, don't you?" Now, me, the ballerina, doesn't realize that this adagio is different from ballet adagio.
Yeah, right. They are not the same at all.
Which I later found out, but I said, "Yes, didn't you see my resume?" So I said, "Oh, okay."
Of
So,
course I do. Hello, ballet training. Thank you.
but here's the thing, I was always very adept in any of my partnering classes. Like, I was fearless, I was always good at any of the overheads, whether it was the helicopter, the fish press, or whatnot. So I
Hmm.
just felt always comfortable up in the air.
Same.
And so basically, I was down there by the end of the week. The day that my travel day went straight from traveling to the studio because we had to rehearse. We had 4 production shows to do, plus 4 production numbers that would open for other acts. And so they wanted me to meet my partner right away, who was kind of very established with the company. And back in the days of like pre-smartphones, he had this big book of all the photos of all these different lifts. And so I go to meet him, and he's like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you. So we got to get started working because we missed the first show the first week because basically the first couple that I guess that was hired was fired, and they had to
Hmm.
do an emergency replacement. So we missed learning one show. We had to start catching up and learn the other shows, and then go back and learn. So he opens this book, and I'm like, I'm looking at these photos, thinking, "Holy cow, that's so cool! Wow!" And no part of me ever even thought that I couldn't do it. It was
Yeah.
just so exciting, and that was my training. I got to do all these crazy things up in the air on a moving ship, and I just had a blast. I loved it. And eventually, just to get further along, after the cruise ship job, I ended up not moving back to up north to New York City until like 96,
Okay.
January of 96. And I moved into the city. I was in my first show on Broadway in June of 96. So
What was the show?
it was the King and I revival with Lou Diamond Phillips and Donna Murphy. And she won
Wow.
a Tony for it. Yeah. And so, so Broadway has all these huge, incredible benefits and whatnot, raising money for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. And I remember
Hmm.
seeing the very first year, I was pretty much ushered in by a performer I had met, and he was telling me about this. We're doing a show at City Center, my first City Center Encore's Broadway production, and he said, "Oh my gosh, there's this burlesque benefit. Jerry would love you." This is the famous Jerry Mitchell who did Hairspray, Legally Blonde, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I am invited to the meeting. Back then, you had to be in a Broadway show, and it was literally the month before I got my first show, but I was there, and there's this beautiful duet, and it was Artie Phillips, and it was his former partner, Pascal Fay. And I
Oh my
remember seeing
God.
this, thinking, "Wow, I've seen lift work." Like, I did the lift work, but it was very kind of Vegasy, very showy, but, it wasn't really about the choreography, but this was
Hmm.
such a beautiful blend of, like, later I would see more of it in ballroom and whatnot, and, but it was just so beautiful and so artistic and just and that was the first time.
We're gonna get to the videos. Keep talking. Keep
Oh, yeah.
talking. I just there's
Okay.
so many videos, and I'm like, I know we're not at the YouTube era, but I don't care.
So,
Keep
yeah, so
going.
anyway, I first laid eyes on Artie Phillips in 96, and then, the following year in 97, and that's when I knew I'm supposed to be dancing with this man. I don't know how this is gonna happen, but I am supposed to be dancing with Artie Phillips. And, sure enough, the following year, no, it was 2 years later, I got Swing on Broadway, and so I actually met Maria Torres back then, Robert Royston, Laureen Baldovi were dancing, they were together back then, huge in the West Coast and country, and Beverly Durand, and, like, big, big names in the partner world of partnering, that and there are many others as well, and so I found out Artie had done the first workshop or 2, and then no more, and I did the 3rd workshop and then Broadway, and I was devastated to think, "Oh, I just missed meeting Art." Oh, the other amazing couple was, Jenny Thomas and Ryan Francois, huge in Lindy Hop world. But, anyway, I couldn't believe Artie's not in the show. He's supposed to be in the show. We're supposed to dance together. And so it actually happened that uh, he was brought in as an emergency for Ryan. I think he'd thrown out his shoulder, if I remember correctly.
Oh
And I wasn't
no.
supposed to cover that track, but then I ended up covering the track, and we got to dance together for like a week or something crazy. A week? Yeah, because I remember they pulled me from Artie to go cover the West Coast, which was full of tricks, and I was
Mm.
devastated. I thought, "Oh my gosh, wait, I didn't have enough time to make an impression on him. Oh my god, this is horrible." Anyway, he ended up leaving the show once Ryan came back, and I was devastated, and sure enough, one day, cut to, like, a couple months later, I'm coming down the stairs at the St. James Theater for Places because I was on all the time. And there's Artie at the bottom of the stairs with his leather jacket and his motorcycle helmet. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Artie, how you doing?" And he's like, "I'm good, I'm good." He's like, "Actually, I came here to talk to you." I'm like,
Oh my God.
"Me?" And I was like, "Tick, tick, tick, show's about to start," you
Yeah,
know?
right.
And so I said, "Yeah, what's up?" And I just had a feeling I knew where this was going. He said, "Well, so there's this big AIDS benefit called Broy Bears." Now he's so funny too because he didn't remember me. I introduced myself to him after, that last time I'd seen him because his number was so incredible. It was this beautiful trio, with he and his former partner David and Pascal, and they were just all naked and body painted, doing lifts, lift, lift. And I remember thinking, I'm supposed to do that piece. Anyway, he's talking about this benefit, and in my back of my mind, I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I know it's coming, I know it's coming." And he said, "This year is the 10-year anniversary, and Jerry wants me to do it's the best of the prior 10 years, and Jerry wanted me to recreate a piece, but, I'm no longer working with my former partner," and, like, he could barely get out the words in time before I just, like, I literally dropped to my knees. Yeah, so this is a beautiful rendition. After he passed away, I've been asked to restage this piece a multitude of times. It was so special. And there was a gentleman in that show who's a videographer. His name's Daniel Robinson, amazing. And when he saw the piece, he said, "This is so beautiful. This has to be preserved." And I have I don't know if you're open to that. If you are, let's have a conversation. And so this is all on Fire Island. Um,
Mhm.
I was asked to set the piece in Fire Island for their Broadway Bears. And so we did on the beach and on the pier in the splintery splintery dock, but it was so
So
incredible.
that's such a great surface to perform on.
Always in bare feet, but but, it was just I mean, just to save this and have it preserved it is and such shot so beautifully. Um, so anyway, that was the beginning of Artie and I working together. So this was in 2000, and
Wow.
that was the first thing Artie and I did together. And then later that year, he was it that year or the following year? No, it was that year because we literally only had a few years together, sadly. Um, but he reached out to do a film festival in Poland. So he and I went out with Jenny and Ryan to do this film festival. I think it was in Krakow or Warsaw. Um, and then after that was my first introduction to hustle. And it was Maria Torres's event, Hustle USA. It was the final year she did it, I believe, and it was somewhere in the Meadowlands. And she was honoring the famous Eddie Vega,
Oh,
the
wow.
very Eddie Vega. And so Artie was asked to recreate a piece of Eddie's that he had done. And so he set a piece on the two of us that Eddie had done. And It was my first hustle event, but I didn't stay for the whole event. I literally went out, had time to get ready, rehearse, do the performance, and then some of the other numbers I saw what was hustle, and I had never seen that before. So I thought, "Oh wow, that's a really cool dance." But then when my number was over, it was time to get back into the city. I didn't stay. I didn't know I could stay, so left. And then I think the next and that was, Artie was always wanting to create and do more adagio pieces with me. So we would do
Mm.
these at hustle events. We would be the theater arts, and do showcases at hustle events. And so the first time it really landed on me what hustle was, I want to say it was Disco America.
Oh, wow.
And that is when I got to stay for the event for the weekend and really understand. It's like, whoa, this is incredible. And yeah, so that was my intro. And everybody obviously knew and loved Artie. And so they would come up and ask me how to dance. Now I had learned how to lead follow, but doing Lindy Hop only. So I was a Lindy Hop first. So I went from the air to the ground, did Lindy Hop, and then was introduced to hustle. And I remember it was so hard for me because if you watch the really good dancers, they play so much. I could never really see what the basic was. And everyone was so sweet. They'd ask me to dance, and I was, oh God, I don't know what this is. And it was like that for a little while, but eventually there was an event. Salsa DJ Henry Knowles.
Oh, I love Henry. I just saw him last weekend in Montreal.
He is awesome. He did an event in St. Martin. And so over the years that now Artie and I are building momentum, we're doing more and more and more. And he would start having me assist him in classes because now I was learning hustle, so I could assist him in his workshops and we'd perform. And anyway, Henry had an event in St. Martin. And so that was really when it just all clicked, like for me in my body. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it's just so magical. It was so sad. Well, not sad. I booked a Broadway show that went on tour. It was Moving Out, the Twilight Art soul musical. And so I was on the road. I did that show for 3 years. I left New York City January 2004, and I came home January 2007. So I remember getting that show and calling Artie because we had things lined up to do. I said, Artie, I'm so sorry. I booked a Broadway tour. And, he's like, no, Mama, congratulations. Like, you got to take the paying work. I'd never expect you to not take the paying work. And, but for me, I had fallen in love with this other world and all the partnering so much. And, it was funny because all my Broadway shows, even before Swing and after, I was always like the featured pas de deux or whatever the partnering stuff was. It was always meant to be part of my life. And I was just devastated to stop the momentum working with such a master like Artie. And then, sadly, by the time I got back, he had already moved to Philly, so I didn't see him a lot. And then he passed away in 2008. So, my time with him was so incredible, but it was so condensed from 2000 to basically December. I don't even know if we had a gig in December of 2003 because I left in January 2004. So, yeah, it was so fast.
That's crazy. But you're so lucky that you got to work with him. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
I came into the hustle scene and it was right after he passed.
Yeah.
So I never had the pleasure of working with him. But my first hustle instructor was Joe Kerner.
Oh,
and he and Artie were super close. So
it was
heard so many stories.
Yeah, 1 degree from Artie for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the bulk of my career through my career in New York and Broadway. It opened doors commercially for me. I've been in music videos, commercials, television shows, movies. I performed on the Academy Awards with Hugh Jackman and Beyonce. I've done I was on the Tonys twice. And then I started choreographing. I started my choreography career. I guess that really started in about 2013, 2013-ish. And so that led into directing and writing shows and whatnot. And so it's like I just kind of
We've had like 9 dance lives.
Yeah. And that's not even counting the ballroom that Abdel and I embarked on.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll definitely get to the stuff with you and Abdel for sure. That's definitely coming up.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool that you had that awesome reel though. I was like, she has her own reel. I wish I could play the music so I could just show it off like as an intro thing. It would have been so cool, but
Yeah.
YouTube doesn't let me play music
Yeah, yeah,
when I
yeah.
do this because then they try to block the streams, so we
Well,
can't.
anybody, I think if you just put my name in YouTube, you can find it. But
Oh, yes.
there's
Yes,
like
for anybody that wants to find her stuff, you can definitely search her on YouTube, and she has her own YouTube channel
oh, and
that you can subscribe to.
I think, did I have my videos on my website? It's been so long since I've been on my website. They might be there too.
Her website info is streaming also, guys. All of her contact info is streaming at the bottom, so if you want to follow her, by all means, please do so and stay up to date with all of her stuff. What was this performance?
Okay, so there's an incredible woman, Jennifer Jankowski. Jankowski. I think I said that right. Sorry, Jennifer. She started a choreographer showcase at this little club called Cielo in the meatpacking district, and she would invite new choreographers to come and choreograph. And so I wanted to do what I do, which is partner. And so I choreographed this piece to the vocals of the incredible Morgan James. She was a Broadway singer, and she's just blown up so huge. But she did this cover of a Prince song called "Call My Name."
Oh,
And the space, I mean, it's tiny. I mean, you think it's tiny there. When you're on it, it's tiny. And they had this giant disco ball, like it had to have been at least 4 feet in diameter, low, right below the center. So I had to restage everything the day of tech to do all the lifts in the corners because you couldn't do any lifts in the center.
how many times, let's be honest, how many times do you walk into a venue where you're supposed to perform and the first thing you do is look at the
Oh
ceiling to
yeah.
see the height?
Yep. Yep.
Every time.
Yep. It's like, okay, we could do this lift between the pipe and the light fixture, which we can't go over there because there's a fan.
Oh, I've reworked routines with a partner to avoid like chandeliers or whatever, and you still somehow hit them.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh my! I think one time at a hotel, we kicked the chandelier on a trick, and the thing was just swinging over our heads,
Oh my gosh.
and you could hear the audience being like, oh, like just waiting if it was going to come crashing down.
Yeah, a lot.
Cabaret life.
The life of a cabaret dancer.
But go on. So, how many? Like, did you get work from this? How do these choreographer showcases work for those that don't know? Because you're the first guest I've had on my show that's been a part of things like this. So tell our viewers a bit about it.
So, it's funny. I actually was in someone else's piece that was a colleague of mine, and certain agents will go and support, but they always post everything on YouTube, and so it's become well known in the industry. So a lot of people in the New York City industry will just look and go, "Oh wow, that person," so it's that simple. Unless there's people there, like I remember a former agency of mine used to attend to scout talent and whatnot. So yeah, it's just an opportunity to get new choreographers work put out there. And then this was so Artie had choreographed this piece based on a famous piece by Augie and Margot, who are incredible adagio dancers. And he did this piece with his former partner Pascal Fay. And so I was asked to demonstrate some of the lifts. So I took from the piece that Artie did that was honoring the Augie and Margot, just because you don't see, especially in the world of musical theater, people don't do this kind of partnering. So it's for me, it's such a passion. I love this artwork, this lift work. It's like put in everything, show what the potential is, And not that there isn't great dancing on Broadway or in partnering whatnot, but it's just very different. It's a different vocabulary. So yeah.
I could watch you dance all day, girl.
Oh, thank you.
Your lines take my breath away.
Oh, thank you.
I think the first time I ever saw you dance, I don't remember where it was, but I literally like my jaw dropped to the floor. And it was like just, oh my God, who is this incredible woman? Where did she come from? And how do I make her my friend?
Oh, well, we're definitely friends.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. It's just, I love this kind of work. I love it so much. I wish it was more, I feel like it's again, not that there isn't a lot of partnering out there, it's just different, you know? And I feel like, I don't know, I wanted it to be more mainstream. And I was
Agreed.
actually brought to Broadway Dance Center. They gave me an opportunity to do a partnering class, the Mastering Partnering workshop. But it was so tricky because they made it open level. And I
Oh,
wanted to do tricks, and so now, safety is such a big deal for me. I'm not just
mm-hmm.
gonna let everybody do a trick. And I start with how to connect, and some people didn't have their own partners, so now you 2 complete strangers with that have never partnered before, and so it was really sad and unfortunate that it could have gone somewhere, I felt, had
Mm-hmm.
it been supported as far as, like, "No, this is for professional dancers, come as a couple."
Yeah, it's hard. Partner trick classes are so hard. I was just talking about this with my one partner, Joe, a couple days ago actually, about people teaching tricks at
Mhm.
events like congresses or whatnot,
Yeah.
and the difficulty of it. Like, you hire as a promoter, you want to bring in the artists that are the big names and that are showing the big, performances that are the crowd pleasers.
Yeah.
But then when you have them go teach the workshops, like you want them to teach tricks,
Mhm.
but not everybody can do tricks. And
Mhm.
you shouldn't be doing tricks with strangers.
Yeah.
And there's
And
so much behind it.
yeah, and the weekend congresses, everybody's gonna wanna learn tricks whether they are capable of doing it or not, and so now there's a safety and liability issue,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you have, like, how many couples or how many dancers, and then, God forbid, just one person gets dropped, It's so it really is such a specialty, and,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Now, if you do have to teach tricks
Mhm.
at a congress, for example, I'm assuming you would go more over fundamentals and things like that within your workshop,
So
right?
I've taught master partnering classes for different universities and colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's more than one day work of class. So you can build to, because I teach how to just connect with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the lead follow partnering is different from tricks. So tricks, I have my own methodologies of showing and engaging warm up that gets both bodies completely engaged and warm within
Mm-hmm.
minutes. And also the lifter is able to find their partner's center. So it's strength. It's a warm up incorporating strength, connection, and immediately engaging any muscles that we'll later use if there's anything up, because there's so many trick elements that don't even have to leave the ground or come above the waist.
Yep.
So what I do is I have depending on the level of skill, I always have an idea of what I'd like to teach. And then if I have to simplify it, or if I can go, oh, okay, you can do that. Now take that and do this. So I've taught my partnering class for Oklahoma City University's spring workshops 2 years in a row. I did for Elon University, University of Michigan's theater arts program. Where else did I do with lift work? I did it for, I want to say Santa Clara University. I was out there. So, because this way I can be hands-on and have more than
Mm-hmm.
one class to work with them.
Oh,
You
absolutely. What kind of work could you recommend for flyers to do on their own to train?
know? So for the flyers, you want to be so technically adept. And so obviously the control and line I got from doing my ballet training.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend ballet because you have to have such balance and control, and that the line will always make the lift great. I've s- I've seen I know you've seen it too, where there's an impressive trick element or lift, and then those feet are flexed or they're
Ugh.
pointed. I'm like, don't lift your leg off the ground if you can't point your foot. Like,
Same.
it just breaks everything for me.
It ruins everything. I don't care if you can do a perfect split. If your foot is flexed, I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it
I don't want
exactly.
to see it. Don't
So
waste my time. Don't burn my eyes.
huge lines, 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 lines. work on those feet. Work
Mm-hmm.
on those feet and work on your arm extension, right? All the way through the hand, right?
Yes.
So lines for flyers, lines and control. You have to have strong core as well. And even upper body strength, because a lot of the bigger power lifts, there's so much responsibility on the flyer to self-support.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Absolutely.
I'm teaching, if I'm asking a flyer to do something where they have to press down on their partner's anything, I see the
Mm-hmm.
flyers do this, and the shoulders come up, and then they're like this. So
Yep.
you gotta, it's upper body strength. It's keeping the ease in your neck while you're resisting and pressing. So
Mm-hmm.
there is work for the flyer. It's not just lift me. It's not that at all.
And tricks are different. There are some tricks that are 50-50. There are tricks that are, 70-30 on the guy or on the girl. But yeah, everybody has to do, there's no trick that is 100% one party or the other.
And I will say, um, start small. I know it looks so impressive to be up flipping in the air, but if you don't have the fundamentals of getting into a lift, just the preparation, get safely getting out, and just
Mhm.
practicing the prep in and prep out, you shouldn't be throwing lifts, right?
Absolutely.
Um, and I can't tell you how many times I will rehearse a preparation before even incorporating the element.
That's
So
so important.
be
A lot of
patient.
people don't realize that.
Be patient. I always say regarding so many things in life, crawl, walk, run, right? Start at the beginning and be patient and make sure you master one before you can master the other, before you can master the other. So, yeah.
How much do you love the rehearsal process?
Um, okay, in lift work, I love it. There's certain things is a little bit more laborious. Lift work, I love it, but also that depends. Who am I dancing with, or who am I choreographing on? Because
Mhm.
if it's something where I had to choreograph something for a benefit honoring Luigi, who's a famous jazz instructor. He passed away. There was this big benefit, and I was supposed to dance with David Elder. And David tore his bicep. We were doing the reverse death spiral.
Mhm.
And I was so excited to finally get to do this element. And he hadn't, it's a different kind of strength as your muscle contracts or muscle, the eccentric, I believe it's called, the eccentric strength. And
Mhm.
he hadn't been doing lift work in so long, so that when the force of my body after he released me, it ripped his bicep off. And so I had to find an emergency replacement. This person was very challenged with the lift work, all the
Mm.
things that were in there, and it's hard because you have to rehearse it a lot. That we're on a time crunch. You have to rehearse a lot so you can get there. But if it's a short window of time, you can't rehearse too much because you can't wear them out,
Yes.
right? Especially if there's several elements within a number. So that kind of rehearsal is so stressful, and I even one of the elements or a couple of them were not working, and I said, "Let's just take it out." And he fought me. He's like, "No, I can do it. I can do it." Sure
Mhm.
enough, day of the show, I mean, it was a mess. The whole number was a complete disaster. I was
Ugh.
literally embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. He missed almost every single lift. But that wasn't on me. It was the situation. It was a lack of professionalism coming to the rehearsal space. And I should have known better and I should have fought, and I didn't. I should have put my foot down and said, "No, it's easy. We'll put something in. It's going to be big wow factor, very little work." I know a lot of those as well. It's amazing because there's partnering tricks that, really are effortless. And then
Mhm.
but the impact is like so huge. And then there's others that are so hard to do.
And the
And
people are like,
you
"Eh."
know, when I look exactly, I look at it, or other people go, they don't even like bat an eyelash. So it depends on the situation.
I want to ask because you said something and it was really interesting. You said you should have fought harder.
I should have put my
Did
foot
you feel like have you ever felt, I should say, in your career that you've had to keep quiet because you're the woman in the partnership? Or have you ever felt
Um,
judged because you've spoken up as the woman in the partnership?
no, 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 and only because I had the most amazing partners. I was very lucky because this is very different in the ballroom world. When I Abdiel and I would rehearse and just to see the horrible treatment of the women by their partners, it was I mean, I was uncomfortable many,
Yeah.
many times. Um, but I was lucky that the people I worked with were all incredible. This one person, sadly, the reason they were problematic wasn't the dance or ego, it was they had a drug problem, which
Oh,
like, I didn't see it right away. It's like trying to watch grass grow, you know, you're with someone who's just all neat and powerful and strong, could lift me with one arm, and then by the end of the time we were working together, he could barely lift me with 2 hands because he had
oh
lost
no.
so much weight, and when you're in it, it's like almost like having a sick pet where you don't realize it because 'cause you're with them every day, and by the time I realized it, it was too late, you know, and it was very sad to see this person who had so much skill, was so incredible, and just, like, wither away to nothing, and so that was why, you know, the this trying to be sympathetic, trying not to upset anyone, and not wanting to put my foot down and say, "No, we're taking the lift out, and we'll put something in that's gonna be equally as effective and just much easier," and I should have but that was my life lesson.
Yeah.
You know, it's about feeling safe. There's no
Now,
too late.
this partnership right here,
Mm.
I feel like was really meant to be.
Oh, Abdiel and I.
Mhm.
I
How
mean,
did you 2 end up starting to dance together? Like, what
oh,
brought this connection on?
so
Because this
this is
was
what
just such a
this is
beautiful partnership.
it's so funny. So when Artie passed away in 2008, I stopped coming around to hustle. I just
Mhm.
I felt like Artie was my in, and I apologize to all my amazing friends in the hustle community because it's not saying that I didn't believe in our friendship, but I just Artie was the connector for me, and I was also focusing on my Broadway career and whatnot. And so I stopped going to the events, and then, you know, but we'd get together every year to honor around the time of his passing in November. And so I became very good friends with Beth Darchie and Louis Orlando, and we would just we we had such a good time at these annual dinners where we realized, why are we waiting a year to spend time together? Let's just hang out as friends. So it started with like lunch and then dinners and drinks and it was so great. And at one point they said, you know, Kristine, you really got to come out dancing again. Everyone would love to see you. And I did. And so that was probably like in 2011. I mean, not long ago. And it was so amazing. I had such a great time. And I swore I'd get back to it, but my life was happening. And so maybe I went to 2 to 3 socials a year.
Wow.
And in all those long spells, you know, people are coming in, new people, whatnot. And I remember one of my long breaks, I come back and Beth and Louie are like, oh my God, Kristine, there's this new dancer on the scene. And the creativity is so incredible. We're reminded of Artie and fabulous. And like you from a concert dance background, um,
Mhm.
very trained, principal dancer with Martha Graham and a ballroom and they dance in heels. And I'm thinking, what? Oh my gosh, this person sounds amazing. Well, of course, it was about 6 months before I got to go out again and see Abdiel. It was at Starlight in Nutley, New Jersey. And if anybody knows Abdiel, Abdiel's so fabulous and the social butterfly is always dancing. He's
Always
never
dancing.
not on the floor. So there was a moment though when we finally got to get introduced, and then Abby said, "You want to dance?" And I, of course, and it was just so amazing, and the connection was just, it was just such a great dance. I just remember that, and then again, I disappeared after that social, and it was about 6 months later before I see Abiel again, and it was one of Lori was doing the Saturday night at the Fort, no, not Fort 12, Dance Sport. It was
Yes.
all the way in the back room at Dance Sport, the old one on 34th Street. And so, but by the time Abdiel got there, it was so late. There were maybe 4 of us, 5 of us at the dance.
Mhm.
So we danced, and because there was room to play, we just started playing, and next thing I know, Abigail's lifting me, and we're doing all this just like improv. And
Oh,
Louis Orlando still was there, and Louis sitting watching. Come to later find out that Louis immediately called Beth on his way home. Like, Beth, oh my God, you missed it. You missed it. You missed it. Christine and Abigail were dancing together. And oh my God, oh my God. So anyway, they were so supportive of us trying to get to dance together. But it was kind of natural anyway, because the dance was ending and we had time to sit and talk. And I found out we were neighbors in Harlem. And at the time I had a car. So I offered to drive Abby home. And we had all the way home to talk. And Abdiel was in a place where they wanted to leave Graham and pursue Broadway, and knew that I had my Broadway career. So, we got there, ended up sitting in the car, talking for another like 30 minutes.
mm-hmm.
And I just knew how amazing this human being was. So, finally it was like, okay, it's late. Gotta go, gotta go. And I just said, listen, you're so amazing. And I know you're so busy, but if you ever want to do anything artistic together, let me know. And MDL said, yes, yes, of course, of course. So cut to almost again, like another. So we met in 2016. We didn't dance together until maybe we met in 2017. We didn't dance together that first time until the end of 2018. And what happened was I was questioning where I was at in my life. What did I want to do? I still wanted to dance. I felt like the Broadway career was kind of dwindling. And I was just, Beth and I were together talking about this. And she said, Kristine, there, you come back to the hustle community.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
everyone knows who you are. You've already established yourself as a professional dancer. They would be so happy to have you in their, among them. And I said, you think so? And she said, I know so. She said, you and Abdiel, she said, I think you and Abdiel should partner together. She said, if you guys perform something, I know doors are just going to fly open for you. And so I'm getting that excitement again, thinking, oh, maybe there is something here. And she said, I'm friends with Jennifer Aucoin from the Canada Salsa and Bachata Congress. I can ask her if she would want to have you guys perform. You know, Obviously, first year you wouldn't be getting paid, but I'm sure you could get admission for the event, and would give you a platform to put yourselves out there. And so I thought, oh my gosh, oh okay. You know what? Let me text Abdiel. Now I had not, since that ride home half a year before, we hadn't texted, we hadn't talked. I didn't
Oh,
even know
wow.
if Abdiel was the kind of person that would answer a text. So I thought, what the hell? So I texted Abdiel. I said, hey, Abby, Abdiel at the time, because we had not yet gotten to know each other. I said, hey, Abdiel, it's Kristine. Listen, we may have an opportunity to perform at the Canada Salsa and Bachata Congress. Would this be interesting would you be interested in this? And Abby responded immediately, oh my God, yes. So it was the most exciting thing. We literally just had a couple months before the event, I think. And so, yeah, because it was summer, she and I went up
Mhm.
to Newport, Rhode Island to see David Elder in Mamma Mia, and the Canada is in October. And
Yep.
so we were actually in the car driving back when this conversation was happening. And so we planned to get together in a studio and do our very first piece. And it just like flowed from us. We had the idea, we wanted to honor the classic hustle, but also bring it to a contemporary place, make it a
Mhm.
little, and add facets of ourselves.
Yes.
So the line, the heels, our very first rendition, we only ever role swapped, I think, when I did the diva walks with Abby. But as we kept going, we kept tweaking and evolving it a little bit more. So there was more role swapping, but it just came so easily. And it was just we were just so excited to work together. I mean, we were able to choreograph it in just a matter of hours. So that was it. That was October 2018. And sure enough, put us on the map, and then all these doors, Carnegie Hall, we got to dance at Carnegie Hall, all these doors open to us. Um,
That's amazing. That's such a dream, Carnegie Hall.
yeah, that was pretty amazing. That was pretty incredible.
Unbelievable. Who was playing?
So they do an annual concert series.
Okay.
And they have an international outreach for schools around the world, and it's called their Link Up series. And every year it's a different theme. And in this particular year, the theme was uh, orchestra moves. So they wanted to incorporate a ballroom couple, and so the piece we were dancing to was the famous Danzon. And so it lent itself to being a little bit more theatricalized as opposed to ballroom, and
Hmm.
just put in all the fun trick elements and whatnot. And it was just to dance in front of that orchestra was just beyond incredible. I mean, I can't even the power of it. If you watch it with the sound at the end when it and they're all standing up like it's part of the choreography, it's just the most exciting, thrilling thing. Yeah, it's super cool.
It's like I feel like I could ask you that joke, but you'd give me a real answer. How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice, practice,
Practice, practice.
practice.
This is the color is.
Yeah.
Explain.
Okay, so Abdiel and I had a lot of people who were supporting who we are, what we were doing. We're really trying to spread a message of equality and inclusivity, being both of us having felt like we were being pushed out or forced out because of certain elements, whether it was that we were people of color. I was dealing with ageism. Abby was dealing with, feminaphobia. And so we had this supporter who was a producer and basically said, I know you are capable of so much. There's this space that I was supposed to use to produce a show at the iconic Stonewall Inn, but that show fell through, but I still have the space. I would like you two to have it to present something and create and put you guys out there on the map even more than what you're doing. And so we were just so honored.
It's amazing.
But now here we are thinking, oh, okay, so now we have to write a show, right? And what is it? And basically, the stipulation was it was about us, it was our journey, what we're about, and we had to honor the sponsor of the evening. And the sponsor of the evening is a sparkling wine called True Colors Cava. It's by a company, oh my gosh, it's Denmark. I want to say Denmark, a Finnish company, and they are huge supporters of the LGBTQIA plus community. And every bottle that's bought, 10 Kronig, are donated to the gay community over there and whatnot. And so they were having a launch, I guess, in the U.S. and Stonewall was just having it being featured. So I thought, okay, I did research on the company, and I loved their slogan, "Life is sparkling." And then the more I learned about the company is named Altea, and that was the name of our mythical club that you enter. Once you go up the stairs, you're in Altea, where anything can happen. And we did the show so that it was immersive and it followed our journey. We start the show out and we're just black and very conservative. My hair's in a bun. Abdiel is in, traditional ballroom outfit. And then throughout the course of events through the evening, layers had come off and we're eventually exposed to our true selves. And
Oh,
we
I love it.
incorporate, yeah, we incorporate Joanna Matos she's a Vogue dancer. She was there. Then we had Beth and Smitty do the hustle, and then we had three amazing dancers who were the more jazzy theatrical dancers, and then us, and then an incredible singer, Greg Osei, and it just came together, and it was just such an amazing, fun event. Um, yeah, it was really, really fun. I mean, we sat at my older brother's poolside in New Jersey one day because we needed to figure out what the show was, and it took us about 7.5 hours sitting there just brainstorming one thing, back and forth, and by the end of the day, we had our show. We had our concept.
Now, you guys doing this whole switching with the lead follow, there was a movie that you guys made.
Yes, so we are the lead subjects of the feature documentary Follow Lead Love,
Hmm.
and so we were so passionate about the hustle and what we were doing. And we wanted to bring it back to being honored like the way it was back in the day when hustle was everywhere. It was on TV, it was in movies, and it was so mainstream. And then unfortunately with the death of the disco era, and then it went underground, and then now still made a mockery of. Whenever you see it on mainstream TV shows, it's still made a mockery of. They're still putting them in bell bottoms with, the polyester suits and finger
Mm-hmm.
pointing. That is not hustle. And
Thank
so
you.
we were
Does
so
not hustle.
passionate about getting this dance to the level of respect it deserves. And so, we had an idea about approaching a film director and about potentially doing something in the hustle regards. And that, let me remember how this worked. When Abdiel and I decided we were going to compete in Disco America in 2019. And so there was something there that the film director trusted us to follow us with the producer and, uh, you know, um, document our journey of the competition. But then it became so much bigger because I just remember after the competition, the next morning we're going to go have breakfast before we drive back to the city, and basically it's a meeting, and I'm being told that a couple of them had talked, Abdiel and our producer, and they had a great idea of where the documentary was going. And I was basically told in August of 2019, so you're going to go and compete in the professional ballroom circuit and doing your role swapping. And I'm thinking, okay, now I know I'm very adept at the partnering, and I've done almost all the dances in some theatricalized version of it, but I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't ever done the actual ballroom dances. I had not trained in the actual ballroom dances unless it
Mm-hmm.
was performing with someone. Like I had a partner who was a ballroom pro that hired me to do a Roomba. So taught me real international Roomba. And so I was doing the actual choreography and getting that crash course just for that particular event. But to actually go into American Rhythm, all 5 dances, and not only learn the dances, but learn the lead and the follow. And I'm thinking,
That's a
okay,
lot of work.
yeah. So when are you thinking? And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, they're probably thinking next year. And they say, oh, the first competition is this December. I was like, what? No, 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 no. Wait, what? This December is August, mind you.
Yeah,
September, October, November. I had 3 months to train.
unreal.
And I just felt like there were a lot of tears. Let me just say that because it was so hard. I mean, I have so
For
much
sure.
respect for ballroom dancers. It is so incredible. It's so difficult. And to make me do that in such a short period of time, I felt like I was being thrown under the bus
Mm-hmm.
because these dancers have been working their entire lives mastering this skill. Their
Oh yeah.
lives, if not years. And
But we're used to saying yes to the opportunities and figuring it out.
well, that's what this was. And, I do have to say, in all my big leaps and advances in my whole life and career, there's always been some major catalyst of fear and whatnot. When
Mm-hmm.
I say, okay, yes, I'll do it. And then I've grown exponentially, but still, it was really freaking hard.
Oh, I'm
And I
sure.
I look at us, or me, I look at me, and I'm thinking, that is so unfair, throwing me out there with all these amazing professional dancers. I'm
I,
like, I would I also, I hadn't before Abby and I worked together, I hadn't danced since 2015, okay? Choreographing and teaching is different from actually dancing and performing,
very true.
right? So,
Very true.
very different. And so I had to get my ass in shape. I was working out, and I would do my workout in my gym, and then I do a ballet bar, and then I put on the ballet heels and practice a Roomba box. And that was the hardest thing. I could not do a Roomba box. It took me a month before I felt like I was finally getting into my hip action,
Oh,
and I
really?
still didn't feel like I was doing it right. And also with all these injuries that I have, like I just found out I have herniated disc number 4. I have
Oh
4
God.
herniated discs, and I have a fully torn left hip. I have minor tears in my right, not to mention my ruptured Achilles. I'm sitting right now.
Oi.
But, and so, I was not used I kept my spine and back so protected for so long that when I dance, I've gotten very used to masking, not moving my core, and just knowing how to move, like have a little épaulement and arm, and my extension was still there, so I could mask my injuries. So in the beginning, it was really painful for
I'm sure.
me to do anything engaging my spine and sitting into a hip that was fully ripped, all the cartilage is ripped.
Oy.
So, but eventually, once I got it, I was like, "Oh, if anything, this is what I need." I needed to get in there, and it almost felt like things were being massaged, you know?
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, a month minimum before I could even do a rumba box and make it look semi decent.
Wow.
It was it was hard, and I have so much respect for all the incredible ballroom dancers out there. Um, But we ended up making history and becoming the first professional ballroom couple to compete as gender neutral and swap roles of lead follow in all 5 American rhythm dances. And, it was so scandalous. Anyway, the
It was
video
so scandalous.
but the video you just showed, so sure enough, the second day we competed, because we did, I forget even the names of the divisions. It was like open and something else, Rising Stars, I believe.
Mhm.
And my ballroom shoe heel, so it goes cha-cha, rumba, swing, bolero. Wait, am I saying that right? Yeah, cha-cha, rumba, swing, bolero, and mambo. And in the swing, we do this trick where lift and then split really hard in the ground. And my right heel snaps,
Oh,
and the nails come out, the whole heel breaks off, and the heel is and I'm thinking, and thank God there were so many people at the New York Dance Festival that year. They had to do 2 heats. So
oh,
we
thank
were
God.
done, and we go off, and the second heat's coming on, and my shoe, it was a dangerous, like, if I stepped on it, I would have rolled my ankle, but there was no support. I couldn't.
Mhm.
What am I gonna do? Oh my god, and I had known to bring a spare pair of shoes. I'd forgotten them up in the warm-up studio several floors up. What am I gonna do? And I'm like, "I don't know what to do. Maybe I can do everything on demi point. I have no idea." So, we got permission from the monitor. "Well, you take your shoes off because you don't have time to go get the shoes." So,
Yeah.
I danced barefoot, the bolero and the mambo in barefoot, and you know how tall Abdiel is.
Oh my God,
I
he's
did
so tall.
without heels, 6'1" without heels, 6'4" in heels, and here I am now, 3 inches shorter because my heels are broken, and it was like, "Alright, I'm dancing my tippy toes." It was horrifying, but it was, like, laughable because it's like, "Of course it's gonna happen."
Of course.
Our film crew's here,
Why
broken.
wouldn't it happen in the before an important
Oh my
moment? I
gosh,
mean, God.
but I mean, you couldn't do anything but laugh about it,
Oh, yeah.
and
The things that we put up with as dancers.
they didn't even mark us anyway. We were like, they didn't mark us.
Really?
We maybe got a couple marks, yeah. I mean, it was that's get like, it was a lot, but we got a lot of positive feedback too,
Well, that's
from
important.
the onlookers, from the audience and other dancers, but, like, judges weren't ready for that. I think we only got, like, 1 mark for the Mamba.
Oy, oy. I
I mean, to not
remember
even get marked, that was crazy, but whatever, what are you gonna do?
when you guys did the trailer for the movie,
Mhm,
you had made a statement in the trailer about being a dancer over 40.
mhm.
Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, when a woman hits 40, you're not viable anymore.
How do you feel like you're fighting that battle? Because I mean, you're still working and you're dancing as beautifully as ever. I mean, granted, unfortunately, right now you are injured, but
Yeah.
up until this injury, you had been working. How do you feel like you are fighting back against these stereotypes?
Well, I'm fighting back because I'm still doing it and doing it on my terms. I'm not going to seek employment, I'm creating opportunity. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, and I'm so fortunate to have had such a history and make so many incredible connections that even the show I came out to Chicago to do, um, my friend was choreographing, and I just another friend reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you know any male dancers in Chicago, Asian male dancers? Because they're looking to cast, and I'm friends with one of the people at the theater, so he kind of reaches out to me, and I said, "Oh, if I think of anybody, I'll let you know." And then he said, they're looking for female dancers too. So, I could get you housing if you want to do it. You should reach out to your friends. So I thought, oh, do I want to do another musical? It's been 4 years since I've been in a musical. Do I want to do it? I mean, I do this performing. Well, let me see what my friend thinks. So I texted my friend who was choreographing the show. And I just wrote. I was like, "Hey, how you doing? I think you're doing this. I don't know if I'm even right for your production," meaning a little long in the tooth, but but if you think I am, I can get housing. And he responded, "I will call you in 5 minutes." And
Oh my
then
God.
basically offered me the lead role in The King and I. And so, you know, I say this because again, the network and amazing friends and relationships I've made over the years that know that I'm still capable, and you know, I like to think they believe I'm an asset to their production, so they bring me on board. And but it's definitely more few and far in between now. And it's also, I don't really keep a social media presence. That's a big thing too.
Yeah.
It's very hard for, like, when Abby and I were working together. Abigail is so good at it
Oh,
that
he's so good at social
yeah,
media.
and just tell me, just repost whatever I put, but with appropriate adjustments. Thank you, Abby, because I suck at this. Um, but if
He's
it's
such a
not me,
sweetheart.
it's rare that I post things. Like, if you look, it's very rare. It's like big things, I'll
Yep.
post,
This is
like
true.
getting in an accident, a bicycle accident, or rupturing my Achilles and needing emergency surgery, or writing a book. So it's rare that I post. So that's also, I'm sure that comes into play with not being on people's minds and being present.
Gotcha.
You
You
know.
did. You just wrote a book. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So I ruptured my Achilles on May 12th, and I
Mhm.
had surgery on May 16th. I'm literally just a couple weeks ago. Horrifying. I couldn't finish the run of the show. I've never had an injury this severe where I was told it'll be a year before I'm dancing again. That's scary to me.
That
That's
every
really
time every
scary.
time you say those words to me, I get chills. It
It's
just
so
it's so
scary.
scary.
And I was post-surgery that first week, I was in so much pain. I couldn't do anything. Even when the nerve block wore off and all my painkillers, I was in excruciating pain. So I would just lay in bed and try to occupy myself by watching like stupid videos on YouTube and whatnot. I went really deep in the Depp Heard trials though. But once that was over, like, what am I what am I gonna do with myself? Oh my gosh. And there's only so many bad videos you can watch, and your brain, you feel your brain cells dying and whatnot.
You
And
could you
so
can watch season 1 of this show. No
yeah, I can.
Just put on the
Um,
playlist and listen to all the fabulous women have
yes,
been on
yes.
here.
So it was one day I was feeling well enough, like, so I'm sitting at this table and the kitchen's behind me, so I have to hobble on my crutches and whatnot. I was preparing food, and one of those advertisements came on. Normally, you always skip ad, but it was too much work to stop preparing food, come back just to do that.
Oh,
So I
yeah,
let
for
this
sure.
advertisement play, and the advertisement was basically about publishing your own books and writing. And I always loved writing. I loved reading. I was very big into books and literature when I was growing up. And so my ear kind of perked up, and I'm just listening. And then when they said free course, well, why not? There was nothing else I could find. There was nothing good on. So I came back with my food and I just watched this little free introduction course. And I thought, what the hell? Why not? I've got nothing going on, I think, that I can really do for the next year. So, well, let's see where this goes. And so, there's platforms that they offer, Q&A, live Q&A sessions 3 times a week. And so I decided to sign up for one of them, even though I hadn't really gotten into my 8-week course yet. And then they're talking about the 7-day book challenge. And it sounded interesting, like, 7-day book. Is it possible to write a book in 7 days? So, but I had just started the main course, but they were so incredible. So I reached out and I asked, I said, "Would you advise waiting to get through the 8-week course first?" And they said, "No, do it right away. It'll be your crash course introduction to everything that you're going to end up learning, but you'll have such a better understanding of it." And I thought, "Well, I've got nothing to lose. Why not?" So I was sent the link last Tuesday. I started on Wednesday. I actually went through days 1 through 3 on the first day, and I wrote the book day 4, 5, and 6. And then day 6 was not, you were supposed to write it within day 4 and 5. Um, but I had like other appointments and things. So I had an hour and a half one day, hour and a half the other day. And so I did Saturday, this past Saturday was like an all day from 4 to midnight. And I finished the book. They taught me how to proofread it, how to put it in ebook format, into print format, the proper website to go to do all that, how to design your book cover, all the things, put it, and then the book like through these different websites for free. And so I just followed and I did it. And it's not like I'm expecting it to be a bestseller or anything. For
Right.
me, it was having an artistic outlet and just doing something productive and
I
feeling
can't
like
believe.
I can do this. And I finished it, published it by Saturday night by midnight, and then my day 7 of the course was Sunday, and that's when I had to market it and advertise it, and that's when I put it on social media, put it out there.
You are so amazing. You wrote a book in a week.
Yeah, the actual
Like
writing part was 3
most
days in a week.
people most dancers who got hurt would not be writing a book. They would be drowning their sorrows, and I would be drowning my
There's definitely a
sorrows.
lot of empty wine bottles and
I'm
almost every
sure.
bottle of tequila on my counter, that's for sure.
But you were so amazing. Like to take this moment that you have after you have been so busy working. I mean, let's be honest, as a female artist, we have to work so hard to get the attention, to get the credit. Like it
Mhm,
is not easy. And granted, it's not easy for our male counterparts, especially if they're the ones that are putting us in the air. Yes, it's
mhm,
physically hard for them. But I feel like we put ourselves through so much as female artists.
mhm,
And then to have an injury like you did,
mhm.
and to take that time, and instead of being like, I'm going to wallow and I'm going to go lay on a beach or whatever, I'm just going to,
Yeah.
you went and took your energy and you put it into a book to share your knowledge with people. Like
Mhm,
I admire and respect you so
mhm.
much.
Thanks so much.
I can't.
It's definitely as an artist, whether it's through dance, movements, choreography, painting, I also I love art, and I need to continue to have an outlet. I need to have a channel, because then I don't feel so bad.
Yeah.
If I can't do another thing, then I can still have my expression.
Well,
And
you can still coach, right? Even though you're hurt. I mean, you can't get up and do stuff, but you could.
yeah, so the problem right now is I can't even drive. It's my driver's foot.
Right.
So I'm really kind of unable to travel at all right now, at least for I think I'll be able to drive in a couple months. So
Are you
so
stuck in Chicago this whole time?
I am gonna be here, yeah, because the my doctor surgeon is at the Northwestern Hospital. Thank God it's just a few blocks up the street, but I have to keep doing follow-ups, and I have my best friend's car here, and I was supposed to drive back to New York City on May 24th. I can't even fly
Oh my
because I'm
God.
not allowed to fly because of risk of blood clotting with the wound still kind of fresh. So I
Hmm.
can't fly, I can't drive. I have to keep coming back to follow-up, so I'll definitely be here through the end of the summer. 'Cause it's just not like, it
You just
yeah,
can't.
it's just I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I love Chicago, I absolutely love it. Um, but it is strange. It is strange to have everything completely change in an instant.
Yeah.
Just
The
but
life of a dancer. Oy.
that's why I thought, "You know what? What can I do to feel a sense of self?" Because the misery can only last so long, and then it becomes dangerous. Like, of course, there's a mourning and grieving, but you can't live there. You can't stay there.
No,
That's unhealthy. And
absolutely.
so the cool thing is I'm now working on my 2nd book. I was but this is gonna be a long
She
one. This is gonna
okay.
be the goal is that this is gonna be about 30,000 words as opposed to the other one is 5,000 words.
Okay.
So I'm working on
Real,
a real book.
thick, juicy one with all the gossip, right? All the gossip?
We'll see how much gossip I can fit in there.
I mean, if you've had 9 dance lives, that's 9 dance lives worth of gossip.
No, someday there will be a memoirs. It might be a little too early though.
Okay, fair enough, Fair enough.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, because we've gone almost an hour and a half,
Oh,
which
no
is
way.
crazy. I could talk to you all day, honey. I mean,
Absolutely.
really, you have so much to share. But before I let you go, I do want to ask you the same question I ask all my guests. If there was one piece of advice that you could give to women who want to be in this industry, what would that advice be?
You know what I would say? It's so hard because we're bombarded with everyone else's life and experience and illusion of grandeur. Do not get caught comparing yourself to anybody else. We are all given such individual and unique personas and gifts and looks and abilities. Not saying that you can't see someone who's inspiring and want to work toward something that they do, but
Hmm.
don't hold yourself to the same, I have to be like that like I have to be that person. You can never be anybody other than who you are. And as women, we're told who society wants us to be.
Hmm.
That is so dangerous, and
So
it
dangerous.
creates so many issues mentally and physically and eating disorders and people youth today are spending so much money on plastic surgery, it's
I
mind-boggling.
know.
Like, be embrace the beauty of who you are. So work on finding what that is. What is your thing? Because 'Cause we're all given our own special thing, and again, not saying you can't go out and learn more and do more and be inspired by people around you, but do not compare yourself to them because it's always going to be apples and oranges, you know. And that's where your power is going to lie. It's going to lie in you being your authentic self.
Love it. That's such great advice. I hope those of you that have been watching wrote that down, took notes. If not, rewind, write it down, because that's important for sure. Kristine, thank you again so much for giving of your time
My
and for
pleasure.
sharing your story with all of us. You
Yes.
are such an inspiration. I've told you this before. I want to be like you when I grow up.
Oh,
Um,
thank
for
you.
sure. I would kill for your lines. I would
Oh,
just, oh,
thank
you're
you.
just such a beautiful dancer and a beautiful person.
Thank
Thank you for sharing your art with us. Thank you for writing. I can't wait to read the book. And yeah,
and
just stay in touch.
I just want to say what you're doing is so incredible because that's the other bit of advice I would say is that it is important that we women support each other. And what you're doing is so special and spectacular. And I'm honored that you reached out to me.
Oh,
So congratulations to you and doing this show. It's wonderful. And I hope it blows up bigger than anything you could possibly want and wish and imagine. So thank you. You know,
thank you so much. I really appreciate those kind words, especially since the next week's guest is actually going to be me. I have agreed to put myself in the hot seat,
yes.
so I'm going to have a guest host next week.
Oh, amazing.
Anya Katzevman will be the
I
guest
love
host for the
her.
show, and she will be interviewing me and putting me in the hot seat.
Oh, I love her so
So
much.
that'll be a special episode next week. We're going strong with these final couple episodes before we wrap up season 2. So
Amazing.
thank you,
You're
Kristine.
welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Join me next week with my guest host, Anya Katzevman, for a special episode of Women of Dance. Once again, I'm your host, Sharonne Vinokurov. Love you all. Have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Can I ask
Bye.
one last thing? Oh, oh.
Oh.